Good afternoon. This is David Wendell with Bushcraftonfire.
This is Dave.
We're pleased to be with you for another video. On our last video, Dew and I left you, we had gathered some blanks for some arrows. And so today, what we want to do is to show you how to take these blanks and work them down to make these finished arrows. So we're going to show you that in just a minute. We'll be right back with you. Thank you so much for taking your time to watch our videos and for your continued support. Join us out on www.bushcraftonfire.net or on Facebook at facebook.com/bushcraftonfire. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take this shaft, we're going to straighten it out and make it like an arrow. Now, get down the edge of that. Is that in there, Tam? You can see that that's not very straight. Okay, you see that's not too awful straight right now. So what we're going to do is gently heat these over the fire and then bend them. Now, I've made a tool to help us do this, and this is what I call an arrow maker, I guess, and it's a bender too. And what we're going to do is to put this in here, and we're going to start to drive it through. And as we drive it through, it's going to shave off the arrow a bit, and that will allow me to get it so it's all one size. Once we have it one size, we'll go ahead and bend it into shape. So what I'm going to do, it's very cold out here today, and I'm going to do this by hand, is I just put this on here, and I'm going to begin to shave this arrow until that fits on there. And I'm going to shave it all around so that it's rounded, similar to making a dowel. Okay, and once we get started, you'll see. Okay, I can shave it like this, or I can shave it as I was like this. And I'm just using a knife at a very gentle angle, taking off a few shavings. Once I get that near the edge, there we are. Now we can start to take this and pound it through. Okay, so what we've done, we got that through a little bit. Now Dew's going to hold that, and I'm just basically going to pound this in, and you can see that wood shaving off of there very nicely. So we're going to go ahead, get all the way through this, and once we get it all the way done, then we'll come back and show you what we're left with. Video. Okay, so what we started off with was something that was tapered. You can see a thick end and a thin end, and we went to something that's nice and straight, almost like a dowel. Now you got to really take your time doing this, and when you're finished, you can take and just scrape this off and round it out nicely, and seriously, you'll have something very close to a dowel. Now the second thing that we're going to do, now that we've got that done, is we're going to, and you guys can see I made a wee mistake right here and got it just a little bit thin. I hope that won't hurt anything. I probably would start over if it was out in the bush. But we left a little bit on the back. One of the reasons is because some of that splits off. So we're going to get Dew to cut that off, and this is going to be a self-knock, okay? Or a holder to hold the arrow. So Dew, you want to go ahead and take your knife there and just cut that off. What he's going to do, he's going to leave about an inch. An inch to an inch and a half on there. And that'll give us something to grab. Now we've already got a couple of these made up, so we're just going to show you this one. Then you can clean this up real nicely. Okay, I'm just going to go around here, clean this up, make sure that's no little pieces left on there. And then, as soon as we get this ready here, we'll be back with you. Okay, the next thing Dew's going to do is to make our notch. This will hold the arrow into the string on the bow. So I know it's a little hard to see, but he's just cutting across the top right now with his SAK. And that's going to allow us to get that knock. So let us go ahead and finish that, and we'll show you what it looks like. Alright, I'm just cleaning up this knock a little bit. You can see that. That's going to hold the arrow nicely into the string. So our next step now is going to be to straighten this. You notice that we did the straightening last, because you don't want to straighten this and then break your shaft. So Dude's going to gently heat this over the fire. I'm going to take a look at it, and wherever it's bent, we're going to straighten it out. You want to be careful on here when you're doing this, not to get that in the flames or you'll end up with the char on it. But wherever we see a crooked spot, Dude's going to heat that. In the meantime, I'm going to put on my gloves because it's going to get pretty hot on the end of that when he's done. You like to do this over coals if you can. That way you're not going to have any problem with scorching. If you just get a very minor scorch on your arrow, it's not going to hurt anything. But if you really scorch it bad, it could break the arrow, so you want to be careful. Alright, let's see what we got there, son. Alright, so Dude's been working this end right here, and what I'm going to do now is just put a little pressure on that. Look down there. And sight that. And then we'll put it back in and we'll do it again. So when we get this thing straightened out, we'll be back with you. Now these aren't going to be perfectly straight, folks. You're not going to have a perfectly straight dowel rod, and you're going to have to, from time to time, go back and straighten your arrows in the bush. So it's always a good idea to keep a bunch of extra arrows with you. So we'll get this done and we'll be right back. Alright, so you can see that arrow is pretty straight. Whoop, dropped it. Now again, you're not going to have it perfectly straight, probably, in the bush. But if you see a little spot, you can fix it up, get everything going. So the next thing we're going to do is tip this arrow, and that's a very easy thing to do. We're going to put a self-tip on here. Maybe at a later date we'll show you how you can put a arrowhead made out of glass or stone or even a bone arrowhead. But for today, for this video, we're just going to self-tip this. And what I'm doing is starting about an inch back and just shaving very fine shavings. I want this to be as straight into the center as I can get it. Okay? So we're just going to go ahead and tip this. Once I get that shaved, then we're going to fire harden that. And you don't want a long, narrow tip on here either. I started back a little bit because now I'm going to go down and get a fine tip on there. Now this tip will go through any small animals. It's a very very sharp tip. Let's see if I can get that up in the video. Is that there, Tim? You can see it's a nice sharp tip. The next thing we're going to do is going to place that underneath these coals. He's going to shove it right in under the coals, and he's going to let that harden for about a minute or so. You don't want to shove it in any more than just the tip of the arrow, and you don't want to scorch again. If you scorch, then you're going to have to shave some off. You want to constantly be turning that arrow, but you're trying to drive the moisture out. We're going to head and do that, and then I'm going to let Dude go ahead and fletch this up. All right, let's see what that looks like, Dude. That should be good. And there we go. Not any fire on there, but it's very hard. Let me see if I can get my gloves off here, let you hear the difference. Okay, this is an arrow up on the tip. I hope you can hear that difference. It's a much higher sound, and that means that that tip's been hardened. We could do that a little bit longer if we want to, but for the sake of this video, it should be fine. So we've got our arrow just about done. The next job we need to do is to fletch.